Well, for more, let's cross live now to Tel Aviv, where our reporter Andrew Hilliar is standing by. Andy, Israel is saying it will be retaining overall security control of Gaza. We have heard Netanyahu making similar claims over the course of the past few months. What else was outlined in those proposals from the Defence Minister?
Yeah, that's right. So yesterday evening, Israel's Defence Minister unveiled his plan for post-war Gaza. He unveiled his plan first to the press before submitting it to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's war cabinet. Now, under his plan, the war would continue until the Israeli military had secured the release of all remaining hostages and until Hamas had been completely dismantled. It then says that after the war was over, there would be a new phase, and in that phase, Palestinian organizations would run the Gaza Strip, but the plan doesn't specify which Palestinian organizations would actually run the Strip. All it says is that it wouldn't, under any circumstances, be Hamas. It also says that there would be no Israeli civilian presence in the Strip. However, it does say that the Israeli military would continue having the right to carry out military operations in the area if necessary. It also one thing I think also worth bearing in mind is that at this point, at least, this is not official government policy, but also very much worth bearing in mind that this plan doesn't lay out whether or not civilians who had fled the fighting in northern Gaza, whether those civilians would be able to return to their homes. Of course, much of northern Gaza having been completely destroyed by the last 3 months of intense fighting.
Well, let's talk a little bit then about the situation in Gaza. What is the latest in regard to the fighting there? Another fierce day of combat on Thursday.
Yeah, well, the Israeli army is pressing ahead with its offensive in southern Gaza. We know that it's carried out strikes in 2 key cities there, in Khan Yunis and in Rafah. The Israeli military is saying that it's killed Hamas fighters and destroyed terrorist infrastructure. But you must also bear in mind that in those 2 cities, that's where many Palestinian civilians, tens of thousands of people who had fled the fighting in northern Gaza because they were told to flee by the Israeli military at the start of the war. That's where many Palestinian civilians had found temporary refuge, and now in many cases those same civilians find themselves in an active combat zone with nowhere to go. We've also heard reports of fighting in and around Gaza City, the Gaza Strip's largest city, again mainly reduced to rubble over the last 3 months by the intensity of fighting and the intensity of those Israeli bombardments.